I had a really interesting experience today where I was able to feel my left glute medius really strongly in a way that I hadn't really felt it before. And I've always known, out of all the muscles that I've had a hard time activating through now 5 years of doing PRI, the glute medius was always the one that I always had the hardest time activating. As I got better neutrality, because in the beginning, 5 years ago, I did not know anything about the upper body, teeth, vision, anything like that. I just started with the pelvis. I repositioned my pelvis. My SI joint problems went away. But I always knew there was more to go because my body still wasn't right. But the main issue, which was the SI joint pain, that has not returned. Just after the first myokinematic seminar that I did the home study. But as I went along, I realized I had more and more issues. Then I found out I was a neck-driven person. So I took the cervical revolution course. Ron used me as an example as a right torsion. Right torsion, it's hard to explain. Basically, it's like a twisting of your cranium. So the cranial bones are being compressed in different areas, particularly on the right side. You'll often see a right eye higher than the left eye, and the telltale sign is a chin that goes to the right. So if your chin, the mandible, is oriented to the right, that person's probably going to have pain. So whenever I see that and I see a chin to the right, if it's someone I know, I'll always ask them, do you have any back pain, or just to see if the theory holds up, and it's almost always true. They're having pain somewhere. So I got taken out of my crossbite. Now, what caused the crossbite and the chin going to the right, I don't know what the series of events were. However, the crossbite was there. I got out of the crossbite, my chin straightened out, and I started to feel certain muscles a lot easier. I felt my medial arch on the right side better, and I felt my left glute medius better. Now, why is the left glute medius important? It's important because at mid-stance, when you're on your left foot in mid-stance, which the majority of what PRI is trying to get you to do is mid-stance on the left foot and holding it long enough and not prematurely going back over to the right side because we're so right dominant. Left glute medius activity is essential to achieve left mid-stance. It's the left glute med, the anterior fibers of the left glute med and the left adductor that stabilize the left leg in mid-stance as the leg goes from externally rotated into an internally rotated position, and as the foot goes from a supinated position into a pronated position. So mid-stance requires internal rotation of the left leg and pronation of the left foot, but real pronation, not fake pronation, which I am not going to get into at this point in time. So the interesting thing is I would feel better left glute activation after making advances in getting neutrality, but it wouldn't stick. And that's always the issue. It's not always so hard to get someone neutral. Some people will not get neutral because, and generally it's a vision or a teeth issue. The neck is overactive because of those two systems. But getting people to remain neutral and progressing tends to be a challenge for some, obviously not for the majority of people, but for enough. And I'm one of those people. I can get neutral, I can make these great advances, feel amazing, and then a couple days later I'm like, something's off again. So with my left foot, I have a callus on the lateral border, so the outside border, a little bit outside the pinky toe, but below the pinky toe. So the lateral outside, obviously, border of my left toe. There is a big painful callus there, and it really should not be there. Interestingly, when I was out in Nebraska in January or February, no, April, one of the people in attendance at the seminar, she did a presentation on feet, and I asked her about my foot because my left foot is a problem, and I kind of use it as my testing to see where my body is, whether it's good or not. If I'm not good, I'll be feeling that callus too much. And interestingly, as she positioned my talus, my ankle, where she said it should be neutral, it placed me directly on that callus. And I was like, I cannot be on that because that position is killing me. And so right there, I started to think maybe there's an ankle issue here, and maybe that's what I'm having the interference from. So I've been experimenting with my feet for a while, for the past month, so to speak, and I've been doing things like putting paper towels on the bottom of my foot in my arch, my metatarsal head, depending on what I'm experimenting with, and I can actually get off that callus for a while, feel great, and then eventually I feel like I'm back on the callus again. So long story short, I was at Cervical Revolution in New York City over the weekend, and again Ron mentioned ankle sprains, a history of ankle sprains as a problem for torsioned people. I'm torsioned, or I was, and I'm sure I'll still have a tendency to be torsioned. I played a lot of sports when I was young, loved basketball, so obviously I sprained my ankle numerous times. Most were moderate, and you just kind of get over it in a couple days and you're back up. One was so bad that, I mean, how it didn't break, I don't really know. But of course, I didn't get any therapy. I didn't get any rehab, and nothing like that. Back then, it was just, you'll feel better. I used my brother's old crutches to get around for a while. And then my parents said, well, your brother had an ankle sprain. He went to rehab, so he'll just tell you what he did. So I just remember walking around on my heels around a track a couple times. But at any rate, it was really bad. And perhaps that experience, that ankle sprain, threw my system off completely. And that's how I ended up being in this right torsion. Maybe the ankle sprain was what caused the malocclusion, the tooth issue, rather than the tooth issue causing anything in the lower body. But it's just speculation because it's impossible to know. However, what happened today is I took an ankle compression sock, put it on my left ankle, in case, well, my theory was maybe my ankle is so unstable that my brain won't let me put my weight over there without tightening up certain muscles in order to stabilize me. So I was thinking maybe if I give myself some external support and I shift my weight to that side, my body or my brain will decide, oh, all right, I don't have to tighten him up when the weight shifts over out of fear of ankle instability. And when I did that, I felt my glute med kick in pretty hard. And so I went through a series of exercises, and the same thing, I felt my glute med. And interestingly, one of them, it was a side-lying exercise where I felt my glute med the first time. My vision also went a little bit out of focus, out of focus. And then it came back into focus. And then it was very restful after that, and I was breathing very restfully. Normally, most people probably wouldn't think anything of it, or they'd be, well, mine just got a little bit unfocused. But because in the postural visual integration course, I know that the left glute medius is very important for mid-stance, which is what we're trying to get to, and maybe there was that little systematic change in that sense that once the left glute med kicked in the proper position, my visual system had to reorient itself because it was operating on a system that still had an unstable left ankle and thus an unstable left glute, or an unused left glute med. But the important thing, what I'm trying to say, is all these systems are really highly integrated inside the human body. And to my knowledge, I haven't found anyone, maybe there are people out there besides postural restoration, who looks at all these systems, how they all interact to produce movement and stability and breathing. And it's really important not to underestimate injuries, what past injuries can do to a system, how they can cause compensation. And even when you're out of pain, that compensation still might continue and then cause issues that would never have been there to begin with if you hadn't gotten the injury in the beginning. So hopefully I'll be able to keep feeling this left glute medius in my exercise that I'm going to continue with. I don't know whether it will hold. It might not. It might be that I have to get my teeth fixed, or this one tooth fixed, to finally keep that ankle from staying, in order to keep that ankle stable. It's impossible to know, but I'll keep you updated. But I just thought it was a really fascinating experience.